Mental Wellness Monday, and this is for January 2024. So this month we have a special treat. I have a guest with me this time. So it's not just me talking to you. You're going to get a real treat for my guest. My guest is Lucretia. She is the founder of House of Lukaya, which specializes in earth-based body care, incense, herbal infusions, and handicrafts that are made in small batches with love for the whole family. She's also the co-founder of OffGridish, where she and her partner are building a solar and rain-powered homestead from scratch on a budget. We love a budget. You know how we do over here. Living life to the fullest on a budget. We love that. Anyway, I want to say hello to Miss Lucretia. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this for so many reasons. Yeah.
Yes, I am so happy that you wanted to do this collaboration. I've been wanting to do something different with my monthly Mental Wellness Mondays, because I think I've been doing this for like 3 years now, and it's always the last Monday of the month. And I feel like I've touched on pretty much a lot of the topics that you would touch on for mental wellness. And I just felt like sometimes the outside perspective, bringing something new to the table would be a good idea. And so when you said you would collab with me, I was like, yes. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. One thing I did not say in my intro is the interview that you did with Miss Bohemian Soul. I'm going to link that below because that was amazing. All right, so I just want to set us up here. This Mental Wellness Monday, we are focusing on showing up for ourselves. And we're going back to my New Year's Live where I said we were setting commitments for 2024 and not resolutions. So this is kind of what we're doing. We need more than a resolution. We need things that we can definitely stick with, ways we are trying to grow as a person, as a community, as a country, as a world, and incorporating different practices into daily life, because that's when they kind of become habits. That's when they become part of life, if we figure out ways to incorporate them every day, even in small doses. We also want to focus a little bit on how to use tech, because tech is huge right now in our lives. Everyone has a little computer in their pocket for the most part. We also want to establish, or maybe reestablish, who is our team, who is our circle, who are our support systems, who are our people, who is there for us to maybe help us maintain these practices, maybe be accountable for, and maybe also to reach out who have specialties in areas we don't, to ask questions of. But basically, we want to do that as far as getting these things incorporated into daily life. So that's kind of what we're on. We want to start breaking down some subject areas. And I know the first one we had on the list was career. I know for my audience, I might have several people who are already retired, but maybe you're thinking of doing a secondary career. Maybe you are trying to branch out into another career, who knows? Maybe you're trying to find a digital nomad career. You're trying to figure out what would work for you, something like that. But how can we begin to show up for ourselves and make a commitment ourselves within our career?
I think because I've been doing what I've been doing, which is working with people, connecting people and plants, right?
Okay.
And teaching people about how plants right around them are there to work with them in their own like wellness journeys, right? And how to make their own medicines at home, like from kids to adults. And I've been doing that for years. And it's because it came out of my own life experience and interest. My dad passed away 3 days before September 11th, and I was living in New York at the time. And the only reason I wasn't in that area when that happened was because I was in Virginia dealing with all of that. And so that kind of sent me on this path where I had moved to New York to be an artist, to be a sculptor. I was a sculpture major. I graduated with a degree in that from VCU. And so that was like a whole life shift for me. And it came out of my own life experience. And then it led into, oh, there's also a way to make a living. I still am learning all about that and experiencing different ways to incorporate different things that help me do that, because I found that as a passion and a purpose. So I really recommend, if you are looking to make a big shift, is to look around at what's going on for you in your life right now. And the
Mm,
things that maybe you've had like in the back of your mind that maybe people said, oh, you can't make a living at that. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but they aren't. So they aren't the best people to
right,
give advice about that. And that's something I learned, halfway along the way so far, was that you want to get advice from people that are doing the thing you want to do, not from
exactly.
people who are not, because it's like they have well-meaning intentions. I mean, but a lot of times it's not, they don't even know it's not well-meaning. It's out of fear, because it is a scary thing to not feel financially secure in a world where that is a really important thing. And so start from there. It's like, what am I really willing to get up every day? And even if I'm not making a ton of money at it, what am I willing, what is it, like I can't not be doing that thing. There's no,
Gotcha.
because even if I worked in an office, like I worked in an office, I worked many jobs, but
Hmm.
even while I was doing those things, I was
Hmm.
still the one everyone came to talk about what was going on and all that. And I was research because I was interested. So it
Right.
just came out of that. And so
Gotcha.
that's my biggest recommendation, is like, look at what you are passionate about right now. I mean, it may sound like a cliche, but it really is a thing that's going to keep you going. And the money isn't always there. It's going to make you get real creative about how
Gotcha.
to keep doing that thing. Possible. You just got to do it.
Exactly.
Mm.
So, all right, looking in my notes, we're going to move on. We're going to keep talking about like money type things with finances. So, finances is a huge commitment that people make for themselves. I know it's one of my commitments for myself for 2024, because I'm like, something got to give. Something's got to give.
Yes.
Huge. It is tough because everything is on the rise. I know that there was something you wanted to talk about with eliminating a bill. So let's just talk a little
Right.
bit about that.
Right. Because for people who are in the situation like me and Khalid, that's my partner, are in,
Hmm.
where our income is not regular. It's not
Hmm.
consistent. It's sometimes it will be a chunk because he'll sell a larger painting and there'll be a chunk of money, but then you have to catch up on all the things that were falling behind until
Hmm.
you got. And so when we do a market, it's like, so it's inconsistent, and
Right.
it really is just that way. So for us, it's always, we just have to continue finding ways to make more, because then you can save, then you can start doing regular things like paying on certain bills in a regular sort of way. So
Hmm.
for us, eliminating a bill is a great way to start when it's an inconsistent income that you have, to take something away. And so with we were talking about streaming services,
Hmm.
because it's one that, especially after what was going on the last few years, a lot more people got a lot more. I don't think I've ever had this many streaming services before. I never even thought about it. Like I
Listen.
wasn't, it wasn't even on my mind, but it just
Yeah.
shifted. And
Yeah.
so you realize those free trials, because you want to see the one thing, and you try to remember to get rid of it, but you don't. And then so you just, oh well, maybe I'll see this. It's a great place to start. It's a great place to start. I'm guaranteeing you there's one that you haven't even looked at or thought of. So start
Exactly.
there. The whole thing we're talking about is being able to do these
Yeah.
things consistently, make these little changes, and they just add up. We don't have to be drastic. We don't have to get into deprivation thinking and all that kind of stuff, because it doesn't last when you do that. It's like when people diet, it doesn't last. And so like, what have you not looked at? And I can think of a couple of mine, I won't say them, but I can think of a couple right now that, or it's like, do I really need the ad-free version?
Right.
Because I got the ad-free version because of this
Right.
one show. And I will say that show, because I will big up Reservation Dogs. It's an amazing show. But I got the ad-free for that one show. That
Yeah.
show's over. So do I need to have that anymore? So
Exactly.
that kind of thing. Like, it's a great place to start. Just that little bit, and then let everything else fall into place after that. That, oh, maybe I don't need to do that thing, or maybe that thing, I don't need that one. Yeah.
Or you mentioned dieting and stuff. So let's talk about a little bit of health and
Mm.
fitness. So I know for me, I know almost everybody makes that annual resolution of getting into shape and general health and fitness type thing. I'm gonna go get a membership at the gym and I'm gonna start going to the gym. And after 6 months, you paid this membership for 6 months and you haven't used it once.
Right. Right.
How can we do some day-to-day things that would help us get better health, better fitness? I know you are a yoga instructor, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. I
Yeah,
know you have
well,
some yoga training of some sort.
I have been an on again, off again
Okay, okay,
yoga practitioner since I was
okay,
18. So it's been decades. And
gotcha.
then in the last few years, Khalid and I took a yoga teacher training together.
Okay,
So we did complete a 200-hour teacher training. I've taught a few classes
nice,
here and there, but
nice.
I'm by no means like a career yoga.
Right.
But I do love to share what I practice with other people. And that's one of the biggest things we learned during that teacher training. That is the most important thing, is to like, what are you doing? Because
Mm-hmm,
yoga is not just the positions, it's not the physical, what's called the asanas, right? So it's
mm-hmm,
breath work, there's acts of kindness and service, there's
mm-hmm.
mantra, there's all kinds of things. So it's like 8 limbs of yoga. It's not just that one thing. So you can be doing different aspects of
Nice,
that anytime. Um,
nice.
and so breath work and different breath techniques,
Mhm.
pranayam is what it's called. And so that's something you can be doing wherever you are, which I love. I love activities. Now, as far as fitness goals, just I something you said, I wanted to just you said when you were at Planet Fitness, you
Mhm,
were consistent. And so it kind of
mhm,
goes back to that same thing with
mhm.
what are we doing if we want to
Right.
branch off from our jobs, if we want to go into, what do you have around you? And we have this technology, like you said, in our pockets now.
Yep. Yep.
Many of us have a laptop that if we're
Mhm.
watching this right now, then we probably have a laptop. We have some kind of screen so we
Yep.
can pull up YouTube. There are any number of people. I really enjoyed I did this 21-day challenge with a friend just in support of the fact she wanted a group of people to do it, right? It
Mhm,
wouldn't normally
mhm.
be something I would do, but it was with this version of Pilates.
Oh,
But it was something you could just do. All you needed was the space of a yoga mat.
wow.
That was it. And it was for like 20 minutes every day for 21 days, but not even
Nice.
saying do it every day. I'm just saying that whatever you find your rhythm to be, there's
Get
so
out
many
there.
different things now you have
Exactly.
access to that you don't have to pay for. I mean, you can also support those people, but if they're offering
Yep.
free videos, there's probably a
Yep.
reason they're able to do that. And so
Yep.
take advantage of that and then find something. I even saw a thing on wall Pilates recognizes that people don't have an hour and 2 hours all the time,
Exactly.
and so if that's your thinking that you need to have that, then 9 times out of 10, you're just not going to do anything. And
Yep.
so if you can
Or
find something that you can do while you're watching something else,
yep.
I mean, those things that we've heard those things before, but
Yep.
it really is just doing that thing, like if you're already sitting there in front of the screen. But yeah, just finding something like 15 minutes out of your day to do.
With
I
all of that.
found a woman and we're friends now. So I'll
Mhm.
share her information with you if you want to share it with your viewers. But
Sure.
she's a wonderful bar instructor and
Okay.
has like a spiritual component. It's just a very
Nice.
holistic way of being. And
I
that's
love
a
that.
really interesting, that's again something all you need is a sturdy chair or a
Yeah.
countertop or
Yeah.
they have of course foldable bars, but you don't even
Yeah.
need that. And it's good. It's beginner to advanced. So that's
100%.
amazing.
We're gonna move on because I know you wanted to share some stuff about breath work, and that's kind of goes into fitness and health along with our next subject, which is mental wellness. So that kind of it ties into both of those. So I'm gonna move on to the mental wellness component, but I want you to talk about that aspect of it too. This is as I stated, the first mental wellness Monday, because I had been previously saying mental health Monday, but I want us to be mentally well, no matter what that looks like. And so I want to take the health aspect out of it because I'm not any kind of a um, medical practitioner of any sort. So I don't want the health component to confuse people. I have no degree. I don't have a degree in anything. I did not go to college. So I don't want anyone thinking they're going to get some kind of um, psychology stuff here or medical advice here. Like this is not to take place of any kind of medical health. You guys need to go see your doctor for stuff that are outside of these if you have a therapist, please continue with the therapist. This is not to take the place of that. I know for me, part of my mental wellness for this year is to live in the present. I've been really focused on future things, and so much so that I feel like I was kind of hooking myself to the future and what will happen back in at this point, what's going to happen at that point, and not so much being content with what I have going on right now and working things out now so that they can affect the future instead of worrying so much about the future that I was not being effective in my present. And I don't know if any of that made sense to anybody, but I'm going to let you talk a little bit about the health and mental wellness component and how I can, myself and others like me, when we get to that point of I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. What can I do to be present, bring myself back to center, bring myself back to calm and be like, okay, that's great. I'm loving and I'm looking forward to that. However, we're in the now. We're in the now. So talk about some of that.
I mean, first it's like realizing and really remembering that time is not linear. So that's the first, like, we are very much taught that from day one, that it's like, okay, you're here, then you're there, then you're there, then you're there, then you're there. And it's like you said,
Gotcha.
somewhere off in the distance in the future is this other you. It's not you. But if you're it's like, if you are thinking about it and you are planning for something, it's already happened. Like, really, there is this place, this where it's already existing because you were able to come up with it. I mean, that's how
Gotcha.
people throughout time have come up with what they come up with, because in
Okay.
the moment they were in, they also could see this other thing. So there's nothing wrong with looking towards the future, what we
Mm-hmm.
perceive as the future. We definitely
Mm-hmm.
need to see ourselves in it and
Mm-hmm.
envision ourselves in that place. Like, envision yourself in the van, just like 20 years ago, when I met my herbal medicine teacher on her homestead,
Mm-hmm.
I envisioned myself on a homestead.
Nice.
I didn't know how it was going to
Right.
happen. I did not know.
Right.
No one could have told me that the, the wall that's behind me right now, like, no one could have told me that this is how
Right.
things were going to happen. I couldn't
Right.
have planned it that way.
Right.
So, and I can think about all the times where I was very much like not in the place I was in, but trying to get to this when this was already here.
Mm-hmm.
It just was already here. And that speaks to faith. And I'm not talking about religion, but that
Yeah.
speaks to faith in your whatever you believe
Mm-hmm.
and whatever your life experience is. Like, we're something animates these bodies that we're in.
Gotcha.
It's not just,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what someone would think it would be, but like,
Right.
something animates
Right.
these bodies, and
Exactly.
the bodies of all the living things, right?
Right.
And so, where did that come from? Where does it go? That's a whole other thing.
Right.
But taking taking the moment to realize just that, like, when we get, because I do it too, we get into this, like, I'm doing taxes right now, so my
Mm-hmm.
brain is very much, even while I'm talking to you right now, I'm looking at the same laptop screen that I've been looking at numbers on and trying to make sure I do the right things, and I'm trying to learn. So even I mean, everyone gets there. So the simplest that can be done in literally any moment, any place you are, if you're in the grocery store, if you're in a cubicle, all places I've been and frequent, whatever your job situation, whatever your home situation, no matter how many people are running around screaming and, doing their things, kid, whatever it is, you can always, because you're breathing, if you can experience all that, that means you're breathing already. So you're already doing it. And so if you just take a moment to breathe in fully through your nose and experience the fact that that's colder than when you breathe out fully through your nose, which is warmer. Just those two observations. When I breathe in through my nose, it's colder. And when I breathe out through my nose, it's warmer. Just those
Mm-hmm.
two observations. And then you can take it a step further from that if you have the space and time. But just those two things, if you can do that for 3 breaths,
Yeah.
wherever you are,
Yeah.
right there, tends to be a good way to reset whatever was
Nice.
going on. And if you have more time than that, you can take it further than that. We talked about, I'm
Mhm.
gonna offer your viewers a video of recorded meditation, like a guided meditation, because I
Nice.
love those. I love to not be
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
It has to be remembering and figuring things out and
You just
remembering to,
listen and go.
yes, I love that. And so even you can and this, so there's many other techniques,
Mhm.
that get more complicated than that. And so, thinking about when you breathe in, that
Mhm.
your body is a balloon. And
Oh.
so a lot of times people talk about filling your belly with your breath,
Mm.
right? Which you're not obviously literally filling your belly with your breath, because your lungs are not in your belly, but
Yeah.
that space, so
Yeah.
if you can imagine, but that is just the front of you. You have the sides
Mm.
and the back of you. So if you really
Okay.
more envision like inflating a balloon
Okay.
and deflating a balloon. So it's from all sides of you, top, bottom, sides, diagonals. Think of it like that. That can extend that moment of just being in your body, because
Mhm.
that's where we often go, is we go off into the brain, which is wonderful and we need very much, but we separate these things. Even the phrase body, mind, spirit, I don't even like to use it. I don't like to use that phrase because it's
Right.
not separate.
Right.
It like we really, it helps because of our language, the
Yeah.
barrier of language in
Yeah.
itself to talk about those things, but
Right.
they don't exist without the other. One doesn't
Exactly.
exist without the other. So just coming back to that breath that we're all doing very, unconsciously most of the time, um, is a great way to bring yourself back in the present.
I appreciate you saying what you said in the beginning about don't necessarily not look to the future,
Yeah.
because once I've kind of manifested those things, they are a thing now. So they are
Mhm,
part of my present. So I
mhm,
appreciate that.
mhm.
We're going to move on to family. I know this could be a difficult subject. I know it's a difficult one for me. Um, Actually, it's extremely difficult, which is, and if anyone has been around and
Yeah.
watched enough of my videos and my journey, you know that I no longer even speak about family anymore. And I'm not going to get into reasons why.
Mhm,
Um, I just don't, because it's been very difficult to keep people informed and also give people their privacy. And also, I've had negative things happen because of mentioning things on my channel. So, besides just talking about husband, he does not want to be on any videos, but he doesn't mind me sharing a little bit of info about him, as far as, stuff we've done together, or a picture where I blocked out his face. He doesn't mind that. But because he is just really incognito on social media, you don't find him on anything. So, there are some general ideas that we can talk about when it comes to family. Like, we don't have to get into specifics and details, but things like starting new family traditions, maybe. But I know, for people connecting with family who may be on the road, some of my nomad friends, and that's hard because you're nomadic. So you're all over. You might be right now in the winter on the West Coast and your family's on the East Coast. Maybe you can start a collection or a tradition of sending a postcard to all the major places you go for your grandchild. I know a lot of people are older in van life. They're doing this because they have the time now to do this. And so they have grandkids that they don't get to see as often. Maybe you could send them a postcard collection with a note of what you were doing when you visited this particular national park or this big city. And then they can have a collection in a shoebox of all of the postcards from their
yeah,
grandparent. And then when you
yeah.
do visit, you guys can look at the postcards together, and you can
Mhm,
tell more stories about the time you were there because you just wrote a little quick note. You could say, oh yeah, when I was here at the Grand Canyon, one thing I didn't tell you about on the back of the postcard was that I saw this and this, and something like that.
mhm.
There are places now, even in Google and Apple, with your photos, you can make books, actual books, photo albums. You can send
Yep,
them off and they will
yep.
get printed, and you can get them mailed to someone. So you don't
Mhm,
even have to have hands on. You just send your pictures, make this into a photo album, and send it to this address. And that's a nice gift they can get, your family can get. So, um, what are some ways we can use, like I said, technology? I already said that. What are some things we can do for our mental wellness, also for connecting us with family and friends that maybe we don't get to see often? Let's talk about, we're going to get more into relationships, so don't get too deep into that because we're going to talk more about our circle in that part of it. But for those people we already have a connection with that we want to maintain that connection with, what are some things that we can do using technology or using whatever?
Well, I love what you said about right before you said postcard, I was like postcards because I love postcards myself and I love to receive them. So just
Yes.
any
Actually,
any
I don't
kind
know.
of yeah.
Someone sent me this postcard here, and it's I'm a big Star Trek person, so this is Uhura.
Oh, nice. Oh, I can
Yeah,
see
so they sent
that.
me this postcard one time. So I'm like,
That's
I love
beautiful.
this, this is one of my favorite postcards that I got. Awesome.
But so definitely anything snail mail related.
Yes.
Because I have this friend that I've known for 20 years now, and she always sends me these little boxes of stuff.
Oh,
Like whether it's like a piece of clothing she thought I might like,
yep.
or she got some nice beeswax at the farmer's market,
Oh, that's so
some
sweet.
empty dropper bottles because I'm always needing dropper bottles because I'm an herbalist, and so she'll send me bottle. It's just always this box, and you don't know what it's gonna be.
That's
Just
so
stuff like
sweet.
that. I love it, and I want to be better that way myself because I'm not usually that great about that sort of thing. And she inspires me to be better about that sort of thing. So that's a great way. But like I said, with technology, there's all these different ways to whether it's a text thread, a monthly Zoom call, that kind of thing where you can actually see your people's faces that you don't get to see all the time. Love that. And as far as you mentioned families and new traditions, things like that, especially when you come, like Khalid and I, we're raising a child together. We have a son together, and he just turned 10 in November. And so, he's definitely old enough to have had a few years now, still around the family members that are in a typical lifestyle, like we are the odd ones for sure in both sides of our family. So for him, he's gotten both, all along. This year, he's mentioned, Christmas a lot, and we don't celebrate Christmas. That's not, we don't do those holidays, except maybe Halloween I enjoy a lot. But, but I like dressing up. But so he's seen that, but like any kid, his idea of that is presents. I'm going to get presents. We did not create that. That was created by those around us. And so this year, as he was mentioning it, I was like, I knew that we would be back and forth from the land and not here during that time, and we would be there. So there was a tree that needed to be cut out here at the land. And so I cut that tree and brought it back to my mother's house and put some lights on that so that he could see that connection, and it was more like we're calling it a solstice tree because we're learning about the solstices and the equinoxes and those agricultural times of the year that we pay attention to because we're paying attention to the land. And we're recognizing the change of seasons and light and all that and those observations. So connected, because we homeschool him. So it's also just this opportunity to always be like experiencing life. I don't, it's not so much that it's, learning, it's observation of what's going on around you, like letting him get to do that. So he gets to see and have this concept in his head of like, okay, this tree at a certain time of year. And we talked about why people use trees, how that became a thing to do for the Christmas season and all that and what that's about.
So now we're going to move on to what I was saying about relationships, romantic and platonic. So we're talking friends, we're talking our circle, we're talking our support system, we're talking husbands, wives, partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever you're calling the person in your life that you're doing life with. Or people, because as somebody who's polyamorous, could be people. But
folks.
The folks. I kind of am on a self-discovery journey when it comes to relationships because I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I literally had 2 really good friends for most of my life. And I remember reading a post probably a year or 2 ago where it said, it's a red flag for me if someone doesn't have a childhood friend still in their life. And I was like, oh, it kind of hurt me because I felt like, well, I don't have any childhood friends that are still in my life.
Mm.
And how does that mean there's something wrong with me?
Wow.
Because I
Well,
don't have lifelong friendships. And I had to realize, listen, sometimes people are just with you for a season or for a certain amount of time
mhm,
as a companion, as a lover, as a friend, as a confidant.
mhm,
And then sometimes you move into a different trajectory in life or a different part of life or a different self discovery or journey of life, and they're not meant to come with you. And
mhm,
that doesn't say anything bad about them. That just says that you're moving in a different place and that connection doesn't connect with the place you're going. And it's okay.
mhm,
You enjoy the time you had together, you look back on the memories fondly, and you keep moving on with where you're supposed to be. And it's
mhm,
just is what it is. And so I
mhm,
had to realize that. I kind of built my own family,
mhm,
incorporate some mental wellness, some techniques,
mhm,
some kind of what we were talking about with family, some ways of getting ourselves out of the mindset that we might be stuck in and understanding that it's okay to be there, but we're moving elsewhere when it comes to relationships.
mhm. Some you just said really resonated where you said you don't have blood family in your life, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and I know I'm not the only one, but I am the only one of most people that I know who is adopted and who's known they were
Mm.
adopted from birth. Well,
Hmm.
3 months is when my parents got me.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was in like a foster care,
Hmm.
while they checked them out. I was headed to them, but they had to
Right.
like make sure I
Yeah.
was okay for 3 months and that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
so my child is my first blood relative that I've had in my life, and then Khalid
Mm.
by way of us making a baby. And so his
Gotcha.
DNA becoming part of me in that way. But
Gotcha.
they are my biological family, and that's who I actually know to be that. Whether
Yeah.
that changes one day in life, if I do the work to find out otherwise, then
Hmm.
that's what it will be. And I remember I used to really lament that and feel that that was a deficit for a part of my life. I really felt like very different and like the odd one because of that. And then
Hmm.
as time went on and I listened to people's stories with their families, and I realized, like, oh, everything that you're experiencing can also be a gift. Like, it really
Hmm.
can be a blessing that I don't have the ties to
Yeah.
biology that other
Yeah.
people have, because it can
Yeah.
take people a lot to kind of extract
Yeah.
themselves from that and to
Yeah.
realize that you are here to choose your family. Like, yes, you have these people in your life that maybe you grew up around and they know certain aspects of you, but they don't even really know you like that. They don't know each other. And so they don't even really know you. So you are always having to choose the
Yep.
people who are in your life, and you really get to do that. And so I've seen it as more of a blessing
Yeah.
as I get older. And like I said, talk to other people who have this biology that kind of makes them feel like they're the odd one. I'm like, well, you're actually
Mhm.
not the odd one.
Right.
There's actually a lot of other people who are of like mind to you. You just have to seek let them come into your life. And it's
Exactly.
okay to maintain relationships to a certain degree, but
Right.
with people you don't resonate with but not ever out of obligation. It doesn't have to, like, no one has to suffer. Like,
Yep.
you can treat people with kindness, everyone with kindness, but
Yeah.
that goes for anyone you meet. So
Yeah.
they can be like anyone you meet to you, if you allow it to be that way and accept that there's people who are going to make you feel like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, like, I'm in this room and I'm not the only one. And even
Yep.
beyond that, I have a great friend who's also, an Ifa priest, Mommy Watts. Like, she's a very spiritual person and also a very good friend. So we have both kinds of conversations on a regular basis. And she would be
Nice.
definitely included in that group, that circle that I have found. And I remember talking to her one time and kind of lamenting this friendship that had ended while we were living in DC, because I didn't know anyone there when I
Yeah.
moved there to have a baby. I moved there pregnant. So I wasn't living
Um.
the same kind of life as, like, oh, let's
Yeah.
go explore DC
Yeah.
together. That was when we dated, but we dated for 7 months before I got
Um,
pregnant. So it was,
gotcha.
we had planned to have kids one day, but that
Yeah.
was a one day sort of thing. And
Right.
the way it happened, Kiyoshi,
Yeah.
and anyone who meets him, like, will get that that's his personality,
Yeah.
that he's not waiting around for anything. But so, so I didn't know anyone. And so I would meet these women that were also mothers of young children.
Mhm.
And, I would say a couple of times that really worked out. She's one of those where that really
Okay.
worked out. But the majority of times it didn't, because there were other things going on. There's just a whole, so when those situations ended, I was lamenting to her, like, I'm so alone. I feel so alone in
Yeah.
this. It's so isolating because I'm
Yeah.
homeschooling him. Like, so it's not like I'm
Right.
going to a job and seeing other people, other adults. And so Khalid would be at work all day and it would just be me and our son. And so she said to me, and it struck me, I broke down in tears when she said it, because it was just so like, oh, this is the truth, not my truth, not her truth. This is the truth. She was like, how many people um do you think it took for you to get here?
Um,
And you're alone? She's like, how could you be alone if, like, how many people did it take for you? And I was like, but I'm adopted and I don't know what do you mean? Because I'm thinking she's talking about, ancestral reverence and
right.
this, and
Right.
this
Right.
grandmother and that, and
Right.
and she was like, but they know you.
Right.
What do you mean? Like, they know you. You don't have
Right.
to know them. And
Right.
so she's like, you can get to know them, you can make a relationship with them. And then that started me on that path of doing that
Nice.
and really
Love it.
realizing that, yeah, how could you be alone? You
Right.
absolutely never are. And then when we reach out, they then start putting things in your life. And I say they because that's how I understand it. But the energy, the whatever you want to call it, puts things in your life that brings the right people. I mean, I also, I don't have a lot of people. I definitely can say there's people I know from high
Mhm.
school, from before that, that I still know now. Because that's the nature of this area,
Yeah.
like where I grew
Yeah.
up. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those places where, it's
Yep.
just small enough where people can be like, well, what high school did you go to? Like that, I
Yep.
got pulled over once for speeding and the cop let me go because he asked me where I was going and I told him and he was like, oh, did you go to this high school? And I said, yes, I did. And he said, oh, okay, well, you need to slow down. Like that kind of thing. Like that's where we are, that kind of environment. So I
Wow.
think it's more natural around here that you do know
Yeah.
people from, doesn't mean you're best friends
Yeah.
still, doesn't mean, but I will say there are some of those relationships where I know that if we needed each other, we would be there for each other. And that's a beautiful
Mhm.
thing. But again, that's not biological family. So I love what I learned during, and it was while learning to be a birth worker, a birth assistant, that kind of world where they would ask you to list all the people that would help you, especially if you're trying to have a home
Ooh.
birth. They
Yeah.
ask you to list those people, but that extends, that's what we were talking about before, that
Right.
that extends to, well, if I'm interested in crystals, who would I contact? If I need to
Right.
know, if I have a herbal medicine question, if I need something beyond herbal medicine, because that's something also I teach about, is this
Yeah.
idea of the 7 medicines,
Yeah.
where these are steps you take when you're dealing with any issue, whether it's emotional or physical, but it's a way of kind of framing and giving yourself leeway to, you do nothing, you gather information, you have belief medicine, herbal medicine, lifestyle medicine, but you also, surgery is in those medicines. Those
Yeah.
kinds of things can be included. But
Right.
so if you ever have to go that route, who
Right.
do you know
Right.
that could give you advice about that? Like,
Right.
it means not throwing anything out. That
Yeah.
it's like, well, who in my world, like if you need a good mechanic, right? You need
Yeah.
somebody,
Exactly.
I'm looking at shuttle buses and it's like, well, now I need, not only do I need a good mechanic, I need
Yep.
a diesel mechanic. Like
Yep.
I need somebody. So
Yep.
you can just go around, like, what in your life are things
Yep.
that you, and then if that can be reciprocated in some way, who are you in somebody else's life? What
Exactly.
are you offering for the people in that circle as well? And then you
Yeah.
just have this network of how I think life is lived the best, is that you have this
Exactly.
network of people that you aren't I mean, some of us need to be around groups of people all the time, and others of us do not. I do not. I like it when it's called for, and then I also like being solitary. But knowing that you have that kind of network out there is a wonderful thing, and you cultivate that with relationship. You cultivate that by sending postcards and sending little gifts and doing Zooms and
Right. I know for me, the biggest thing with friendships has been that, like, and I don't know if it's because of my personality. I don't know if it's because of, horoscope has to do with it, but I am like a true friend. And when it's not really reciprocated, I tend to just start limiting my access, or limiting that person's access to me. Because when I say I'm a true friend, like, I'm the kind of person who would be checking on people weekly, and remembering what they told me, taking notes about our conversation, so the next time I talk to them, I could bring up, hey, last time we talked, you said such and such, like detailed notes while we were talking on the phone, so that I could remember to remind them. I have friends' birthdays on the calendar, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. Always be the first one to say happy birthday to them on their birthday, or, reach out to them on some special occasion, or support them in whatever it is they were doing business wise or whatever. But I feel when it's not reciprocated, and it doesn't, and not saying that people's life gonna be lifing, because life do be lifing, but I be feeling like, dang, I, really was there for this person. And when I look back on our conversations, especially text, because you can look back on text and emails, it's like, why do I always have to send the first correspondence? Or why do I always have to reach out first? Why they never reach out to me? You mean to tell me I don't never cross their mind? Like, and so I start feeling some type of way. And then it's like, you know what? Maybe they don't deserve this kind of friendship from me. Maybe they deserve a scaled down version.
Right.
So then I start limiting their access to me, and don't give them, I kind of, match energy.
I relate to that very much. And I relate to conversations I've had with Khalid many a time where I am lamenting something like that. And he's saying to me, he's reminding me, slow down at the beginning. And then I realized at one point that it was me, for me, it was me wanting to create that thing, to create that relationship. And I'm a creator. That's what I do. So let's get it going. Like, let's go. You have this idea, let's go. Let's do it. And so that's all good. And at the same time,
you were forcing that friendship to be a friendship from day one.
No, it's so me. I'm an only child. Like, it's so me. Like, so I totally get it. But then, and so that is something that I have been paying more attention to. Is okay. And I'm thinking of a friend right now who's become, over the time, like, I can see our friendship growing. I can see us becoming closer. Whereas before, I would have already been pissed off at her by now. I would have been pissed off because I'd have been like, you know what? Like, but so it takes time to get it.
Oh, she ain't no friend. She can call check on me.
But then I hear in what you're saying too, though, this loops back around to what we were talking about, what our strengths, our passions, our purposes. So maybe in that there is a purpose that it's not meant to be reciprocated in the same way, because it can't be. But you have something to offer.
You're right.
Along that, and then maybe you can be compensated in a way, that is beneficial to you, and then so
everybody can't be a friend, and I'm learning that. And it's funny because I'm almost 53 and I'm still learning that not everybody can be a friend.
And that's what we're here to do, is experience this life. That's really it. That it's like, we get things when we get them, and then we
Yeah.
forget those things, and then we get reminded of those things.
Constant reminders. Constant reminders.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move on to our last little segment, or our last topic, rather, and it's hobbies. We touched on it a little bit earlier. For me, we had talked about streaming services. I've got to stop watching stuff because I get sucked into it. It's just so easy to veg out at the end of the day and just watch TV. How do I consume content to help me make better content for my viewers? Because I want to give good content to my viewers. I just don't want to throw any old thing out there. And most people will say in the comments, oh, it doesn't matter what you post, Crystal, we'll watch whatever. Well, that's not necessarily true, because I can look at the analytics in the algorithm and it shows me you're not watching. So that's not necessarily true. You're not going to watch stuff that's not beneficial to you. So I want to make beneficial content. But as far as, because it's kind of a hobby, but I want to make it my income. But I also I have a bin here of hobby supplies that I want to get back into doing some hobbies. I want to get back into making junk journals. I used to love making junk journals. Google junk journals and YouTube junk journals. I'm not going to go into what that is. Okay. But that used to be a stress reliever for me, making junk journals and stuff like that. So I really want to get back into some hobbies and some more creative outlets, and not so much vegging out on watching TV. That's an easy thing to do. It's a cop out. But it's not conducive to my creative mindset. So let's speak on hobbies. Let's speak on getting those into our daily practices for those of us that want to get back into some hobbies that we've maybe put off, we haven't done in a long time. That how can we do that? How can we incorporate that back into our daily living?
So I love what you just said about how you have some supplies next to you to make junk journals, because now and you're looking for content that's helpful on your channel. So I'm like, I want to see a video about making junk journals now. So, so I think
let me look. I'm adding it to the list.
Yes.
Let me add it.
That would be amazing.
Video.
I want to Google it. I want to do CrystalVanner's junk journal video. I want to see that. I want to Google it. So, but hobbies, that you want to get back into your life, I think we can utilize, because now we can talk about, it doesn't have to just be online. But we can go to, obviously depending on where we live, but hopefully most people who are being able to see this live somewhere near a library. So libraries are wonderful resources of space. They keep the lights on, they keep the heat on, all that. And it's just sitting there. And the ones around here I've been in, nobody's in there. So you could have a group of people that meet you there because y'all I want to learn to knit socks. I don't really want to learn to knit socks I can Google it. I know I can do that. But I would love for someone just to teach me. I learn really well that way. And so I would love to sit next to somebody and have them show me how to do it. Because I can't find the socks I want out there in the world. So I need to make them. And I already know how to knit a little bit. I know how to crochet a little bit. And I have sold things that I've made. So it can turn into that. Business type hobbies can turn into that. But at the same time, I just enjoy doing it. It's really relaxing. Now, I will say this about the streaming, and I'm realizing how it happened, because I make incense. That is one of my main businesses. And in addition to teaching about herbs and things like that. But so a lot of the things that I do, like the knitting, are things you can do while you're watching something. So I can't read a book while I'm doing, but I can listen. I got very much into audio books. And
I love a good audiobook.
The audio shows that they have out there right now, I mean, amazing. I can't even, like, we went on long car trips, we would listen to those and stuff like that. But so I can get caught up zoning out, because I do things with my hands that require me to sit still in one spot for long periods of time. So that does work for me, but for others that might not. If you're just sitting there and that's all that's happening, I could see that getting into an issue. So but definitely finding a community around the hobby that you like. It's always that, right? It helps us like we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
You mentioned it, like being accountable
Mhm.
to somebody else or just getting an idea. And like I said, needing and wanting to have somebody next to me showing me the thing
Mhm.
is really helpful. So, doing the research to find like what's that thing you're interested in, and then
Mhm.
looking around you to see where that might be happening or creating it yourself. Because that's the thing with the technology is such an amazing tool when it's used
Mhm.
that way. When we are part of how we're using it. Of course, we know things were designed to the scrolling that was created. I don't know if you saw
Mhm.
that documentary about how they created the way we look through things like Instagram, and
Oh
that
no.
scrolling down and up,
Mhm.
that was thought out because it makes us feel like there's no end. You can just
Oh.
and it's how it creates that in your mind that there's no
Just
end.
keep
So
going.
I just keep going and never stop. So I don't have to change anything, the page or
Wow.
anything or click
Oh
anything. I just
wow.
like even it was thought about that in that much detail. So it's
Wow.
totally normal that it would be. And when you have a business and when you have something you're trying to get out there, it's hard not to be on those platforms. When
Yeah.
I meet somebody these days who says they're not on them, I'm always like, how's that work? I'm
Right.
so curious, but I would love to pay somebody, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate it as a tool. I absolutely
Yeah.
do. It's just I'm a human being like everybody else, and
Yeah.
so I get caught up too. And so yeah,
Yeah.
having something where if the hobby involves you, like you said, reading, you can't be scrolling if you've got a book in your hands.
True.
You can't be scrolling and looking at it. I mean, you could have TV on while you're reading, I guess, but
That's a little too
um,
much.
yeah, just taking your hobby and taking it seriously. Because I
Mhm.
think sometimes that's the thing is like people have looked at hobbies like, well, if it doesn't make me any money, then I don't take it seriously. I don't
Right.
really, it's not as important as other
Right.
things I do. Like that, like that's how that word doesn't mean that, but that's kind of how we've given that
Yeah.
connotation to it. But you could take
Right.
it like just as serious as you take getting up and going to whatever job you go to.
Yeah.
That thing that really lights you up
Yeah.
is the thing that you give attention to, and find other people that are interested in that too, or teach somebody else how to do it. I feel
Right.
like that helps a lot if we show someone else how to do something, then it just like with yoga, when I have a class to teach because my yoga teacher's partner, she has to be out of town. So pretty much once a year, she's asked me to teach this one class.
Mhm.
And I will tell you, I will be on that mat like way more than I usually am because I'm
Right.
like, "Oh, I want to be able to show them this, or I want to make sure I
Yeah.
can do that. But then
Yeah.
I'm doing it too, and it reinvigorates that in me. And so I
Exactly.
think sharing it with somebody else is a great way to like give your hobby that
Okay.
importance that it deserves.
Exactly. Well, I just want to thank you for this. I know that you are going to be sharing some stuff with my viewers, and everything will be linked below. You're going to be sharing a guided meditation, you said, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to be linking your socials and website below, and anything else that we come up with that we think would be helpful to the viewers. We're going to link down below. Check the pinned comment for that. I'm also going to be offering a freebie to my viewers. I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, but it's going to be a mental wellness freebie. It's going to be 31 days of affirmations. So that's going to be linked in the pinned comment as well. And I'm working on something else digital that we can give out as well, but that's going to be coming much later. That won't be a part of this conversation, but it might be in time for maybe the February or the March mental wellness month. But I just want to thank you again for joining me. I want to thank you for this collaboration. It's been amazing. I could
This is
talk
awesome.
all day with you.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, we could talk about so much more.
So
So
much more. So much.
really,
It's
yeah.
going to be difficult editing this video because
Oh,
there's
I
so much
bet.
good nuggets. So
Yeah,
many good nuggets. But I
yeah.
just want to thank you. Thank you for your time. And guys, go and check out Lucretia. Check out House of Lukaya on Instagram and the website. Check out OffGridish on Instagram. There's a Patreon there to help support this building of this homestead. I'm so excited for the things that are to come because I know a little bit that y'all don't know, but I'm excited for it all. And I can't wait to see it all unfold. I can't wait to one day come visit the homestead. Oh, I'm so excited for you guys. It's so exciting because husband got me started watching that homestead rescue show. And whenever we see Black people, we always watch the episode. And when I knew you guys were going to be on the show, a matter of fact, we should link that as well so they can watch that episode to get a little more background on you guys' homestead. I can't wait to go camping on the homestead.
To have you here. That's going to be amazing. Yeah.
I just can't wait. And I just know so many huge things. You have so many avenues going to be opening up for you guys. So I'm excited. I'm so excited. And I just want to go ahead and put it out there for anyone looking for community. Join the community that I have online. It's the VFFVillage.mn.co, and I'll link that below. It's in the description box of all my videos. This community is not for van lifers only. This community is for anyone on any kind of journey, okay? Whether you're on a mental wellness journey, whether you are looking to start your new business, whether you are looking to get physically fit, whether you just want somebody to talk to because for real, you're by yourself all the time and you're lonely. It doesn't matter. Our community is for anybody, any walk of life, any age group, any gender, any background, doesn't matter. Join us over there. It's free. Let us know what your journey is. I'm in there at least once a week, sometimes 2-3 times a week. Encourage and support them. So I just want to plug that for those that are looking for some kind of virtual community if you are. Just thank you so much. I love you so much. So I'm going to stop this recording now. But before we go, I'm going to remind everyone to be good to yourself, be kind to others, and whatever your journey, enjoy it.